Hey everybody, it's Maui on location in Iowa City in my Airbnb, and here is I'm burdened with the glorious purpose of talking about Loki because it's awesome. And to join me, I have two variant Mauis. First variant I have is Afro Maui.
Oh, hello. Let me
Hello,
this
variant Afro Maui. How are you?
I'm doing quite well. How are you? Oh,
I
let me
wish
comment.
I. Oh, I wish I had. I wish I had more hair. Next up, we have. She does not like to be called Maui. She goes by Slowy. What's up, Slowy?
Nothing much. How are you? Thanks for having me here, Maui.
Yes, I'm glad to see all of us. The Council of Maui's here.
Don't call me that. We've been over this dozen times.
Yes. Apologies.
Thank you.
So how's everybody doing?
Doing pretty all right.
Pretty awesome. Really loved this week's episode.
Yes, I love this episode, and also I love Iowa City. Shout out Iowa City. Thanks for having me. You're lovely. So I don't have
I
my
hate
usual. See, variants, man, they're different. So I don't have my usual setup. So I don't think we're gonna so much as go through it beat by beat. I think we're just gonna kind of talk about the things that we love about this episode. So we're gonna do a little bit differently today. Um. So yeah, let's kind of just start off with our general thoughts on this episode. Crystal, let's start with you.
I say this every week, but I really mean it this week, which is I loved it. I loved the pacing. I loved the writing. I loved the little details like the Thanos copter.
Yes.
Made me so happy. Just like all this little stuff, like all this stuff to unpack. We finally get to see, like what's on the other side of being pruned, and we get to get this idea of what's going on with the TVA. And it's just it's great because we had such a strong setup in the first two episodes, and this one just kind of keeps undoing all of the setup that was originally done, and I love it. Absolutely love it. Loved all the Lokis. Loved the fight. Like, just great episode. Hands down great.
Yeah, pretty fantastic. David, what about you? What are your general thoughts about this episode?
Man, a lot happened.
Wow.
No, first of all, the design was fantastic. Just the design of the entire world. The way it was, like, from the ruined buses that you first go into, all the way to the very end when they're fighting against Alioth. Like, everything about the world that they showed was really cool looking, and I quite enjoyed all the interactions of so many different Lokis. Was it like 12 in the episode?
Something like that. It was.
I lost count, like in that big Loki fight scene.
The way
I couldn't tell, but particularly loved President Loki.
Yeah, the way they were all interacting with one another and were slightly different worked really, really well. And also, Loki Prime and Sylvie had a moment. Loki and Mobius had a moment. There were moments to be had.
I loved the hug between Loki and Mobius. Like, it feels like part of the arc of this series is Loki finding his tribe. And that's really cool to see. It's really cool to see him kind of letting his walls down, letting people in, is really freaking fascinating.
Yeah. Ooh. Also, I remember last time, or maybe it was the time before, I had mentioned that things kind of almost happened too quickly, because it's a 6-episode miniseries, and I'm like, how long have they been there? How long have they been doing this? And this episode, at the very least, nods to that.
Yep.
When Loki's like, it's been days, months. How long has it been? Like, he doesn't know. Time flows weird. Also, the other question of, I've been here longer than you, to Sylvie. It's just, have you? Have you? Because it really looks like she spikes herself. Well, not
minutes.
Yeah, like maybe 15 minutes later. Maybe.
Yeah. Yeah, I agree with all that. I think this was definitely the silliest episode. It was the most out there. You can really feel like, I'm pretty sure that a few of the writers on the show are from Rick and Morty, and I feel like you can feel that. You know? I really loved also the self-awareness of the Lokis is interesting in terms of like alligator Loki lashes out, and then classic Loki says like, oh, he too is overly sensitive like the rest of us.
Yeah.
You know, like they're aware of their flaws, which is really interesting. And then hearing how like, at least how some of them diverge from each other. Like, I love that Kid Loki is the boss of the Lokis. Like, he's the king of this realm. And like, oh, what makes you worthy to be king? And he's like, I killed Thor. Or Shaft Thor. Is that what we're calling him? Like, I don't know. What
that works.
His name is Boastful Thor, but Shaft Thor.
Boastful
I don't know.
Thor.
Either way, he's a bad mother. Anyway,
Sure.
I'm just talking about Shaft Thor. So, like, he's talking about, oh yeah, and then I killed Iron Man and Captain America, and then I claimed all 6 Infinity Stones. Like, it's just ridiculous. It's so silly when when that gang of like murderous Lokis show up to like take over and betray classic Loki and Kid Loki and Alligator Loki, and then President Loki Loki, and then like all the Lokis turn on President Loki, fight ensues. Like, I imagine this happens a lot in this realm. I think that is amazing, and I love it.
I just loved how their like little den hideaway thing looks like some sort of like old bowling alley, and like they've got all the Christmas decorations and stuff in there.
Yeah, it's hilarious.
Area. It's just great.
It's important.
For those joining us, we are talking all things about Loki, about the most recent episode. There are spoilers. I will put a spoiler warning at the bottom. So if you have not seen this episode of Loki, please make sure to turn away. But if you have seen this episode and you have comments on it, we'd love to hear what you have to say. We were talking about the most recent episode of Loki, which even the name of this episode, Journey into Mystery, that's the first appearance of Loki and Thor is in Journey into Mystery, which is pretty awesome.
I think it's very important we have to point out that in that throne room, they had Space Mission Pinball.
I saw that. I was so excited.
They did have that. Yeah.
I love pinball.
Did anyone notice that? Did anyone notice that Throg was in this episode?
I didn't notice if it was a frog him or not. When they're coming down through the thing, you see Mjolnir, and then you see a little box with Thor
jumping around.
Yeah. So was it full-on Throg? Was it full-on Throg?
I'm pretty sure. I watched it on my phone, so it was really hard to see. But I'm like 90% positive that was Throg. I went through it as slow as I could on my phone because I had to watch it on my phone since I'm out of town and I don't have access to a television. And it looked like Throg to me. That, for those of you who don't know, Throg is Thor as a frog. And I'm almost positive that was him. And if so, that means that one of the Lokis captured Frog Thor in a jar, buried him like inches away from Meow Meow, and just like doomed him to just be so tantalizingly close to Meow Meow. And I think that is amazing.
All right. Yep, I just looked it up. It is indeed Throg.
It is Throg.
Yep.
Excellent. I couldn't tell if that was just like a teeny tiny version, because I was also watching it on my phone. I couldn't tell if it was just like a teeny tiny version of Thor, like shrunk Thor, or if it was supposed to be Throg.
Nope, that is Throg, and the jar he is in
has the issue that he appeared in.
Yeah, it says T365, which presumably is the first appearance of Throg.
Yes, it is.
Which is wonderful. I love that they keep doing that with people's numbers. Like Renslayer's number was reference to her first appearance.
Avengers 35, right?
135, I think.
Yeah, it was one something.
And then
35.
Okay. So hold on. Let's just so we have have a Throg. We have at least one Mjolnir there. We've got tons of Lokis. We have the Thanos copter, which beautiful. Chef's kiss. I'm wondering.
The last thing we need is to find out that the person behind all of this is Mephisto.
Oh my God, no.
Although a little part of me is still kind of holding out for Kang. But I do want to ask, who was everyone's favorite Loki? Just of the new ones, of the ones that you just get a glimpse of the not Loki, not Sylvie, but the other Lokis, like design wise.
I'll let you go first, Crystal.
I really like Alligator Loki.
Oh.
I just love the concept. I like that Alligator Loki doesn't speak in English. He just growls and grunts, and then old Loki, that's what we're calling him, like translates for him. I just love how it's like they pick him up and then run around and then put him down. He just kind of scuttles around in the background. I mean, I just really love the concept. And I love when he bites President Loki's hand off. So I'm going to be on Team Alligator Loki if that's okay.
I mean, it's really hard for me. I love so many of these Lokis. I think classic Loki, for his sacrifice at the end, and also for like the comics accurate costume, is pretty amazing. Plus, like Richard E. Grant, like has a wonderful way of acting in that big, hammy, campy way, but still like is engaging and draws you in terms of like the more quieter emotional parts. He does an amazing job of kind of balancing the camp as well as the dramatic. So I really dig him. I do love Alligator Loki as well. And President Loki I just love how smarmy and evil he is, and I love when he gets his hand bit off. Like the blood curdling scream that he lets out is hilarious. So, what about you?
I mean, of the four main Lokis that are there in the little bunker, I've got the design on Kid Loki's so good.
Yeah, Kid Loki's pretty awesome,
and that he does command respect for, like, Loki Prime is like, and he just pulls out a sword at him. But then just purely from the way they looked, and I mean, this might be because I watched it on a TV because I'm not a heathen like you.
I'm
Uh,
out of town.
I had a busy day. I'll watch it on the computer later, David.
get a projector
Please.
and project it on your wall. I see a wall right there.
Oh, that could work so well in
Mm.
here.
Right? But no.
You're a genius.
I am. Thank you for recognizing that. No,
Everyone knows Mauis have big egos, so don't stroke them.
but no, the Loki that had the helmet with the bicycle, the bicycle handlebars as his horns. I have so many questions about that. Just at a glance, I'm like, that's Thunderdome Loki. That is post-apocalypse Loki who lost his helmet and had to make a new one because god damn it, he wasn't gonna go with that.
Yeah, no.
I do also like the line of "Are you sure the alligator's a Loki?" And it's like, well, he's green. All Lokis must wear green.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, that's a weird like constant that I love. Is that why you're wearing green today?
Well, that and I really like Hanson.
Oh, nice.
Yeah.
I have had this shirt since '99.
David, you're like winning this episode.
So, I forgot how you can be sometimes, and I love it. I missed this. In the best way. In the best way, you're like you can be so beautifully extra. I love it. So here's my question. Has anyone looked up Eliath?
Mm-hmm.
I'm assuming you're familiar with Eliath. You're a bit more familiar with Loki. I think you've read way more Loki than I have. Are you familiar with Eliath?
Eliath is more a Kang and Renslayer villain,
right?
Than Loki.
So, yes. So for those of you who don't know from the comics, and this is from Nerdist.com, a little bit of history on Eliath, the cloud monster. It's a living tempest that consumes matter and energy. It can devour entire branched realities in an instant. And it's the job to ensure that its job to ensure that no variant ever returns to the TVA or the timelines they came from, or to the place beyond the end of time. So in the comics, Eliath's debut is in Avengers: The Terminatrix Objective Number 1 in 1993. Like on Loki, the comics version manifests as a giant cloud who destroys anything it touches. But the trans-temporal entity was not a security guard. Instead, Eliath was the first creature to escape the constraints of time itself, also known as the Supreme Time Being. It ruled its own temporal kingdom stretching billions of years. Eliath's domain was massive, much bigger than Kang the Conqueror's own realm over time. Kang had to build a temporal barrier to keep Eliath out of his own kingdom of Chronopolis. There's a lot more into it. Like Ravonna Renslayer took over Kang's realm when he went into a coma. She accidentally unleashed Eliath when she destroyed the barrier. This is like fairly deep cut, Avengers stuff. So I think that's super interesting, and it does, I think, lend credence to maybe Kang being the wizard, behind the curtain.
The look of Eliath is spot on, because even in the comics, it's just a giant purple cloud. This was not a Galactus incident, or it's like, let's just make him a cloud. No. That's what Eliath looks like. I did also like, so I forgot that Ravonna Renslayer went by Ravonna the Terminatrix. That's such a bad comic book name. That's so dumb. God, I love it. It's so dumb. And remember, because it was the 90s in comics, and she was lady. She was a Terminatrix. Not a Terminator.
And this is...
Oh, no. Gender everything.
This
Oh,
is
that's
what
what it looks like in the comic.
Eliath looks like in the comic. So pretty spot on
Yeah.
interpretation of Eliath. I think that's super interesting. I do think that it could point towards the possibility of King the Conqueror being the one behind everything. I still think it's kind of too late to include a completely new character. I still think that in this, in this place beyond the void, that we're potentially looking at like another Loki, like Supreme Loki or something, being the one behind everything. It's the only way for them to introduce a new character that I would actually care about.
Now, most Supreme merchandise is in red and white.
This is true. This is
not
true.
gold and green.
I
don't know. I had one thing to say while we were on the topic of was it Renslayer?
Mm-hmm.
Was the scene with Miss Minutes.
Mm-hmm.
And where they're talking to B-15 and or right before she talks to B-15 and right before Sylvie prunes herself and Miss Minutes is looking for the file.
Hey y'all.
Oh, I loved it. I just thought it was really like Miss Minutes was like a really great like introductory character, and then she kind of like went away for a little bit. So it was interesting to see her be like this like co-conspirator to like buy her time while TVA like Minutemen like got to her. But I just wanted to know what your guys' take on this whole like this Miss Minutes thing still has me kind of baffled. It's like she's a interactive hologram. She's pre-programmed, but she's not. I wonder what you guys kind of thought about it, because I thought it was interesting, but I'm still trying to like figure out what exactly Miss Minutes is and where that personality is coming from. Like, is it just a voice behind a machine, or is it some little entity? Like,
she's what happened to Ultron.
Oh yeah, like a sentient AI, pretty much.
No, I'm saying she's Ultron, like
a variant Ultron.
A variant Ultron. I'm looking for the
file. Is there a chance that Miss Minutes is the main avatar for whatever is behind everything?
I kind of want that to be the case, honestly. I really do.
That would kind of remind me of a Sandman issue, where the issue where Prez gets to finally meets the god of all things who controls his world, and it's a smiley face. It's just a smiley face being like, "Hi, I control everything." But oh man, she was wonderful in this episode. I wish we had gotten more of her. I kind of wish that there were some like AR games out there, like websites and stuff for this show, kind of like what Batman: The Dark Knight did, that involved her, because that would be a lot of fun.
I miss AR tie-ins to things. Like Lost did a lot of that. Yeah. Where like the show is all around you, like you can interact with it in all these different ways. I do think the show could have lent itself to that very much. I think that would have been cool.
I am glad that Lost, or speaking of Lost, I'm glad that they basically presented a smoke monster, explained what it is, and got rid of it in one episode. I appreciated that here in Loki. Like, as soon as that showed up, I'm like, all right, don't pull a Lost on me.
I'm hoping that in the last episode that we see a statue with 4 toes and they don't explain it.
Okay.
I really want Miss Minutes to be behind everything, or like the
sentience
behind it. That's what I want anyway.
On the topic of that, I think that likely she is some sort of a sentient AI that is working for whoever's behind everything. So be it Kang, Supreme Loki, Red and White,
Maui,
whatever, whoever is behind the curtain.
Maui, you were glitching for a moment.
Am I roboting? Am I back now?
You're back now.
You're back now. Yeah.
Okay.
You were a little wibbly wobbly.
Yeah, so I think that potentially, she is a sentient AI working for whoever's behind everything, or so be it Loki, like a Supreme Loki or a Kang, whoever's behind all of this. I think that she's just like you said, to be like an avatar of that person, like just doing their bidding.
I think what was interesting to me was the fact that there's this, she's clearly like buying Renslayer time when there's other people that could step into her role. Like she's already stepped into that role from somebody else, because we saw that other judge in the last episode. Is it the last episode? So it's just interesting that there's some sort of like allegiance there between the two, when it seems that TVA employees, is that what we're going to call them, are disposable in a sense.
No, they have names. Are they Minutemen?
The Minutemen.
Something like that?
Yeah, but like as a judge, she's no longer a Minuteman, so to speak. So I'm talking about like overall, because we don't know where that other judge went. Like, what the hell happened to him?
Yeah.
Mobius, I don't think, is a Minuteman. He's like an investigator.
But he used to be.
He is. I think they call him an analyst.
Yeah. But it just seems like everybody in this organization is disposable in some way, shape, or another. So it was just interesting that Miss Minutes was trying to save somebody. At least that's what I thought. That's my 2 cents.
Well,
probably.
And also she's so about Renslayer. At this point, what are her motivations? Because at the very end of last episode, she finds out that, everyone's lying to her. And so is she going to try to take over the TVA? She kind of says stuff about that, about like keeping things orderly no matter what. Are we going to see a showdown between her and Mobius? Or is she going to also get to see who the wizard behind the curtain is?
I thought what was interesting is when in that in that call that she made, she was like, whoever's behind this is in trouble or in danger or something. And I was like, is that her like trying to manipulate to get to whoever's in charge so she can take over or figure it out? But her concern didn't feel genuine all the way. You know what I mean?
She felt very different in this episode, because I felt like she's been very subdued, and I was actually talking with somebody about her acting being a little underwhelming in this show, in the episodes thus far. But this episode, it felt markedly different, and I think it's because she's kind of let her guard down, and so now I'm thinking that the way she was in the earlier episodes was an intentional acting choice. And I think we're seeing closer to the real her, or at least a more manipulative version of her trying to position herself on the board.
Well, like Sylvie said, to paraphrase Sylvie, she was all like, so I almost believed you there for a second. Or did you let yourself get real?
Dun, dun, dun.
Yeah.
What was your favorite Sylvie moment of the episode?
Oh, the blanket moment. It was so sweet. But also like really raw. I loved how like raw she was, and like just talking about like, I've never had anybody like, I don't know what to do. Like
So awkward.
It was so awkward. I love the awkwardness of it. Like I just love the genuine, like how genuine the moment felt.
And then
I loved how the first thing she says about the blanket is it's not very snuggly.
I did love that, like the very Loki thing of her realizing, oh wait, I should say thank you. Like realizing that she was kind of being a dick, and then him taking a moment and then not saying anything snarky back. I was like, oh,
that's my favorite moment. What about you,
There's
Matt?
been an incredible amount of growth of the characters in a very short amount of time, and I think they're doing a really good job of selling it. which is a tough thing to do when you don't have a lot of space to do it.
I do like that they didn't have the big romantic kiss in that moment either. Now it's out in the open. They both talked to Mobius, and that only makes it more awkward. Plus, that also felt real. The fact that they were like, okay, so what happens next? Maybe we'll figure it out. Maybe together. Like the idea is, if they survive this, then they can try to figure things out later. Like which feels great, because in a lot of apocalyptic anything or big momentous anything, it's like, oh, the hero and love interest get together and they're all like, everything's wonderful and blah 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 blah, and it's just no, you might not be. Like, there's a whole lot of work ahead of y'all. And in that, they're very much like, oh, we have a lot to work through for this. They're not even naming what they are by way of like how they feel.
I'm kind of happy that they're doing that. Yeah. One, because it's weird to be in love with just like an alternate form of yourself. Like I can't really wrap my brain. But also, if you hear some screaming, like there's a kid in the next room, so if you're screaming, that's that. But also,
that is loud screaming.
Yeah, I was gonna say, is everything okay?
No, he's fine. He's nonverbal and special needs, so he's having a bit of a fit. So, but also, I think I lost it. Where was I going?
They're not defining the thing that they have, sort of thing.
Yeah. Also, just like, I'm just kind of sick of the romance, like, angle being shoehorned into everything. Like I don't know that that's just needed in this show. Like, I just don't know if it's needed. I think more importantly, he's found someone where he feels he can be 100% himself with, and I'm just okay with it being that. And so seeing those genuine moments with them, I do really appreciate. My favorite Sylvie moment in this episode was probably the moment when she pruned herself, because she has no idea whether or not Ravon is lying. And she takes that leap of faith to go, save her friend and be a hero. I really love this version. It's like this one version of Loki that is truly heroic, and it makes me very happy. So
I like how she does it right after Ravonna says something about, like, do you even have a happy memory? And she's like, no, I guess I'll just go see what's on the other side. Like,
she says there's one.
There's one, yeah.
And I'm wondering if that one happy memory is like her time she spent with Loki.
Yeah.
Or is she talking about when she was a kid playing with her toys? I don't know.
Yeah. I'm curious though. I want to know what it is.
Yeah. Do we want to hear Easter eggs in this episode?
Sure.
There are probably a lot.
So in episode 5, this is from Polygon.com. They point out a motley collection of pruned objects from across history, including, of all things, a Polybius, I guess was how you would say it. Polybius arcade cabinet. Polybius is the stuff of urban legend. The myth of Polybius involves an arcade machine that was supposedly test marketed in Portland, Oregon in the early 80s. Players quickly became addicted to the game, the story goes, but suffered a psychoactive side effect. Adding to the Polybius mystery are tales of Man in Black style government agents monitoring the machines and collecting data about players' behavior. It's also been referenced in The Simpsons and was eventually made into a real-life video game by the developer of Trippy Fair like Tempest 2000 and Space Giraffe.
That sounds a lot like The Last Starfighter. Just the government agents tracking. Although The Last Starfighter was alien agents tracking. Okay, I guess what I'm saying is it sounds a lot like Clerks Cartoon episode 4. Where it's government agents.
Yeah.
Tracking
I love that.
A pyramid building game. God, why was that cartoon? Ooh, ooh.
I loved that show so much.
Can I say my favorite Easter egg thing?
Sure.
The Philadelphia experiment. So, do you remember that? Okay. Let's see. So, way back in the night in like 1943, there was supposedly a ship. The USS starts with an E. It's the ship that you see in this. That that what?
Eldridge.
The Eldridge.
That's right. The USS Eldridge that turned invisible through some kind of strange experiment. Was no, it wouldn't be Majestic 13. That happened after Roswell. Anyhow, turned invisible, some strange experiment. Then in the 80s, there's all kinds of conspiracy theories about it, saying it was aliens or using alien tech, or it was time travel. And then in the mid 80s, 84, I think, they made a movie about the Philadelphia experiment, in which it was time travel, but it was all messed up and wrong. And so seeing that ship pop in, I was just like, oh, ship pops in at the end of time. And then I recognized the name, and I'm like, oh, that's the Philadelphia experiment. That's great. That's a fantastic little Easter egg for someone who geekily loved that movie way too much as a small child. Fantastic. The sequel, not worth it, but it was a really good movie.
Yeah, that is actually in my list here. Is that the Eldridge? What else we got? We mentioned Journey into Mystery. The Avengers Tower we saw is not actually Avengers Tower. It's Kang Towers. QENG. In the opening shot of the Void, we see it from a different angle where you can see that it doesn't say Stark on it. It says Kang, QENG. Kang Enterprises bought the tower from Tony Stark in 2015's all different Avengers, and the CEO of Kang was a man known as Mr. Griffin, who was ultimately revealed to be one of the many identities of Kang the Conqueror. We mentioned Eliath. The Thanos Copter, for those who don't know, the Thanos Copter debuted in a short story in 1979's Spidey Super Stories number 39. The story pit Thanos against Spider-Man and Hellcat, who possessed the powerful cosmic cube known as the Tesseract in the MCU. And so Thanos piloted a helicopter with his own name on it to track Hellcat down. This is obviously for younger audiences and very silly. And it's just kind of like a joke all the time now, like in a 2015 issue of Deadpool. We mentioned Throg, which Throg debuted in an 80s Thor story written by Walt Simonson. Loki turned Thor into a frog, and Thor helped a bunch of Central Park frogs fight off an invading army of rats, which is hilarious. Roxy Wine.
all of Walt Simonson's run on Thor was amazing.
It's absolutely incredible.
Yeah.
Roxy Wine, I'm assuming, is a nod to Rocksmart from episode 2. We mentioned Oblivious.
While Loki's drinking wine, did you catch what Kid Loki was drinking?
That brings me to my next one. Not just High C. Not just High C Jukebox, the best High C flavor of all time, Ecto Cooler.
Ectoplasm, Ecto Cooler. Yep.
The best. I was obsessed with it as a child. We get the vote Loki. There is a theater sign that they drive past, and on it says Oswald and the Martians. This is a reference to Oswald the Lucky Rabbit. This is the character that Walt Disney created with iWorks a year prior to
You're gone glitching.
And am I glitching again?
You were.
Am I back?
Yep, you're okay now.
Okay. Okay. So Oswald the Lucky Rabbit was created prior to Disney. When he was with Universal, it caused Walt Disney to quit giving Universal control of Oswald. And then Disney would focus on his new creation, Mickey Mouse. Interesting fun fact about Oswald the Lucky Rabbit. In recent years, Disney reacquired the rights to Oswald by trading NBC Universal, a sportscaster, I believe it was Al Michaels, was traded for the rights to a cartoon character to another company, which I think is freaking hysterical. Also, the plot of the movie that references animated short called Mars has a similar plot to this episode, in which Oswald finds himself booted to Mars, a surreal setting populated with strange creatures, and he meets the Martian King. We also mentioned the space mission pinball machine. We see a close-up of Sylvie's forearms, and we see it has the same circle pattern that Jack Kirby designed for Enchantress. We haven't really gotten a good look at that before, so that's pretty cool. The Eldridge, as David mentioned. The license plate on the pizza delivery car reads GRNW1D. That's a reference to comics writer Mark Gruenwald. There is also a giant Yellow Jacket helmet on a field, on a big wide shot that they show. At one point, you see a wrecked Dark Aster, which is Ronan the Accuser's warship. You also see the remains of the triple-faced head of the Living Tribunal.
Whoa, what?
What? I did not see that.
There is a remain of a statue of the Living Tribunal in the background. So we see, you clearly see it. I'm looking at a picture of it right now. I'll share my screen so you can see it. Once again, this was found by the awesome folks at Polygon.com.
I love Polygon.
Let me share. No, pop up. Go away. And no, kitty.
I need
there
to see
it is.
this now. Oh, okay.
Oh, yeah.
That is clear.
That is definitely the Living Tribunal.
Mm-hmm. So that's pretty.
Definitely not a dead tribunal, that one. Or no, it is a tribunal. Oh, no.
Mm-hmm. The Living Tribunal debuted in Strange Tales 158, written by Roy Thomas, with art by Marie Severin. This all-powerful cosmic entity is in charge of overseeing and judging every reality in the Marvel multiverse. The being first class with Doctor Strange after judging Earth to be unfit to exist. The appearance of a Living Tribunal statue makes sense considering that TVA kind of stole their gig. Polygon wonders, could the Tribunal be behind the TVA?
That'd be awesome.
Mm-hmm.
Tribunal tends to be the Tribunal always tended to be kind of indifferent to kind of indifferent to people, because it's a judge. It's supposed to be but I do remember the Tribunal lives outside of the universe. Eternity, the physical embodiment of the entire universe. And I remember that what's his name? Thanos with the Infinity Gauntlet was able to stop the Living Tribunal, but then after that, when they had taken the gauntlet apart and there were, the gems were apart, the Tribunal was able to make it so that they could never work together again. Tribunal's like the Supreme Court.
Yeah.
Yeah.
It'd still be cool if they were involved in some way.
It would be really.
That would be interesting.
Actually, and that's another big question. Okay, so at this point in Marvel, can they keep tossing things like this out there without having a plan for it? Because Thanos shows. Oh, I did the whistle thing. Thanos shows up at the end of Avengers, and they had zero idea of what to do with him. Right? That was strictly Joss Whedon being like, "Oh, let's throw Thanos into the end of this." And then in Guardians of the Galaxy 1, you see Adam Warlock's cocoon. which is just a throwaway gag in the background. It was an Easter egg for Adam Warlock fans, all three of us, to go, it's him. But then at the end of Guardians 2, they actually set up Adam Warlock, which they're not going to pay off, supposedly.
Doesn't look like it.
In 3, which is also like, but that's a question. Okay, so at this point, they've already had to kind of retcon things. Like, they've had to retcon Thanos a few times before they got to him actually showing up. Like, his early appearances make no sense. But then you also have
the Mandarin.
Yeah, well, the Mandarin kind of makes it, but yeah. So
I don't think they can anymore. Like, I feel like it's more intentional now because they know that people are like scanning and scraping to find this stuff and paying attention to these details. So I'm kind of hoping that they're not putting stuff in just for throwaway effect.
Especially in a universe where we have the Dread Dormammu. You have to put respect on his name. It's the Dread Dormammu, always. But no, like in a universe where you've got the Dread Dormammu, the TVA, the Timekeepers in a way, still holding out for Time Twisters. Like, can they just toss out? Can they just toss out the Living Tribunal like that, or are they actually a thing? Will we get an Adam Warlock in the Infinity Watch series? That's what I'm asking.
Well, Tribunal is a lot to do with Strange, right? And the next big movie is Multiverse. So maybe there's a small link there.
Yeah.
But it's hard to know. I mean, I would love to see that happen.
I want a comics accurate in-betweener. If we're going cosmic characters showing up, I want a guy who is, alternate, like, black and white body parts, wearing a black and white kimono, and that is it.
Yeah, I mean, if you're gonna get crazy, get crazy. Like, if you're gonna tease people, just introduce them, right? The Mephisto thing. Like, I thought that was just kind of cruel. The amount of stuff they tease people with. Same thing with the Quicksilver baiting.
Oh, that was mean. That was really mean.
Chopping up again.
No.
Yeah.
Okay.
No, the Quicksilver thing was mean.
So. All that.
Yeah. Right. That was super mean. Like, right, for like a stupid dick joke was like that was really annoying. I think they've obviously thrown a lot of like Kang the Conqueror stuff in there, and I know that Kang is going to appear eventually. So, but people are like, well, we're dealing with time, we're dealing with Renslayer. Is Kang going to show up in this? I think there is still a possibility, but not have him show up until the very, very end, for me, just feels tacked on. And I really don't like when they do that.
I mean,
I'm almost hoping he doesn't show up in the next episode for that very reason, because I really want this series to stick its landing.
I'm wondering if Kang will be in that case, I wonder if Kang will be a post-credit type thing. Because
that's where I think he belongs.
That would be okay. I'd be okay with that.
Yeah, because
have a bad guy that was behind it all, and then in the post credits you find out that behind them was Kang.
Yeah.
Like a Thanos, like, fine, I'll do it myself.
I'm saying Ramatut, the ancient Egyptian version of Kang, or Reed Richards' grandfather, depending, or Doctor Doom's great-grandson, depending on continuity. God, I love comics. They're so dumb.
Yeah. The problem
is, you need to make me like a massive reading list so I can be on the same level as you.
Most of those are really bad. Most of those stories are really, really, really
I
bad.
could use some lulls, so I'm fine with that.
But no, I like, it's not going to be Doom, as much as I want Doom to show up and just wreck everybody. and Doom could definitely wreck everybody. I believe in Doom. I'm not saying I'm a supporter of Doom. I just I respect Doom as one should.
Is that hand motion? I believe.
But no. Yeah, who do you think? Well,
I don't know.
Who do you think's going to be behind? Like, what kind of building was that? Am I voguing?
I mean,
What kind of?
I would assume it's some form of Chronopolis. I would guess, which is traditionally Kang's kingdom. But maybe it's his kingdom before it's his kingdom, or maybe he's like, working for a supreme Loki and he feels the power vacuum after they take him down. I don't know. Like, but for me, the only thing that I can see that kind of makes sense when I'm trying to think as these writers with the story that they're telling, the only thing I can see is that this is yet another Loki variant. It's like the only thing that really makes sense to my brain with like what they've done so far.
I'd have to agree with that, because especially with the way that they seem to be dumping all the Lokis into this one void, and then they get to this, you get to this place and it's like the only real survivors are Lokis. Like everybody gets sent there, but it appears the only people who are surviving are Lokis because Loki survived. That's what we've been told. But then you have like that final reveal when they're going to walk through, and there's just this kind of sense of like, I don't really think it could be anybody else, because the only people who are getting banished here and not dying are Lokis. So to get to the other side, the only one who may have been able to do that as a Loki, and how are they surviving, is by using Goliath to keep other people away from a position of power. That's at least my interpretation, what I think it could be. But I tend to agree with you, Maui Prime.
It's an old-timey Gothic castle. So that's kind of main European, not Northern European looking, so it doesn't look Viking-esque. So is it another Loki? I'd be cool with it being another Loki. I'd actually really like it being there's so many different versions of Loki it could be. I would really like it being the like creepy old messed up teeth Loki that you see in the Loki miniseries from the early 2000s, who is just decrepit and nasty looking, but ridiculously powerful. I would love to see that. On the other hand, I mean, that looked like a Latverian castle. Like
it's not Doom.
But in my heart, a man can dream, god damn it. A man can dream. And in my heart of hearts, I dream of a setup for Secret Wars, which also, this could all be set up for Secret Wars.
Like, I mean, Feige did say this would be the most like impactful thing in terms of like what's coming up. This would have huge reverberations.
Yeah, and it seems to be setting up some of the movies like directly.
Well, what have they set up so far because in WandaVision they set up
Multiverse of Madness.
They set up Multiverse. They set up the Marvels.
Yeah.
They're doing Captain Marvel dirty by changing the name of it now.
Yes, I agree.
I'm a Brie Larson fan and a Captain Marvel Carol Danvers fan. So
Same.
But then they also set up Secret Invasion.
In Falcon and the Winter Soldier.
When did they set up Secret Invasion in that?
I don't think they did.
Okay. So my theory is that Power Broker / Sharon Carter is a Skrull.
The Skrull. That's right.
Like I felt like it was super obvious at the end of that was not Sharon Carter.
See, and I was thinking that in what's it called, in WandaVision, when they first talked to or at the very end when they what's his face shows up from the Skrull dude. Shows up and talks to the second Captain Marvel in the comics, Monica Rambeau. She had the
because like she's being called up to work for Fury, and Fury's going to be the focus of Secret Invasion. But I felt that like for me the bigger setup was like the obvious fact that like whoever Sharon Carter was on the phone with was like her or Skrull Carter because she's a Skrull was her talking to her Skrull friends and saying like we have access to their government stuff now.
I'm fine with her just being evil Sharon Carter.
Yeah, I'm fine. I'm fine with that too. Like, I'm cool with her doing a 180 from good guy to bad guy, frankly.
But there's
That's a more interesting story to me.
It might be a more interesting story, but I don't know that they did the work to get there. So like I can't like so I have to dock them points if that's what happened. Okay, but I have to dock them points because I felt that there was lazy writing to get her from point A to point B.
That's
she
fair.
could be taking a Mockingbird position in Secret Invasion. Yeah, I do. Yeah, I could see that.
Mm-hmm.
I did just watch the 1990 Captain America movie, and I do want to point out that no matter what, when they try to shoehorn in a Sharon Carter type thing, it's awkward. Like it's the comics were able to do it because of the amount of time in between Peggy Carter and Sharon, but whenever they try to do it in a movie, it's just like, here's Captain America's love interest. Oh, now it's 50 years later or more. His new love interest is related to his ew.
Yeah, it's kind of grody.
Yeah. Like the comics got away with it. They even aged her up to be his same age at one point. But yeah.
No, it's awkward.
So, okay. So it is a person in a castle, a very human looking castle, right? Like,
I am having connection issues here, yo.
I don't believe it.
Can you still hear me?
Yes. I can hear you, yeah.
Yeah.
Okay, I'm having connection issues here. Can you still see David? Because I can't see him at all.
I can see everybody.
I can see everything. I see all.
Oh, there we go. And we're back.
Seeing David.
Okay, so real quick, since like my Iowa internet connection is a little unstable here. So real quick, let's give our ratings and call this one. David, what do we think of this episode on scale of 5?
I still enjoyed the previous episode more, but this one had a better fight scene, so I'm going to give it the same rating. Because this fight scene, favorite bit of it, by the way, Loki Prime dancing around them. Like, not cowering, just being like, oh, shit. But anyhow, yes. Much better fight scene. Lots of revelations. Beautiful character moments. I still kind of like the previous episode more, other than the fight scene. So I'm going to say equal rating for slightly different reasons.
Okay. Crystal, what about you?
Oh, we're super close with this one. I'm gonna be that person, give it a 4.75 instead of 4.5 because the fight scene, I loved it. And that was what made me lose points last time was the fight scene. But there were just a few like little moments that I think could have been done better. Like I kind of wanted more of what was going on with B-15 and Renslayer. But that fight scene made up for so much. It was funny. Like, again, like Loki Prime kind of just weaving his way casually while everybody else kicks the crap out of each other. Beautifully choreographed. I liked the sacrificial moments, all of the little like heartfelt moments. There's just so much going on that was so good in this episode. And we're super, super close. Like, I'm really hoping the next one is a 5, like fingers crossed. Like, I'm pulling for it.
And I also give this one a 4.75. I'm really high on this episode. I thought it was amazing, hilarious, really funny.
He froze again.
Oh, he's frozen.
But also hurt. Like it just did 4.75. It did all the things, and I loved it.
Did all the things.
Yes. So 4.75 did all the things. Absolutely loved it. we're gonna log off because my internet sucks. And
Okay.
thank you everybody for watching. And tune in next week. When we have our final discussion about the series. We'll try and get a few more people in on our final discussion to kind of unpack the entire series. I'm really looking forward to it. Yeah, well, that's good. More. We'll get a whole council of Lokis. Yeah, or a council of Mauis.
A council of Mauis.
Yeah, I'm excited about it. All right, y'all. Thank you for watching. We'll see you next week.
Adios.